Hello, I'm Bridget Graves, and I've been doing a series on my experience with grief. I'm sharing about dealing with the various stages of grief. It's a different experience for each and every individual. But I've just felt a strong need to help others through this process, through these videos, because when I lost my son, I did not know what in the world was happening to me. I truly thought that I was losing my mind. And after reading and, sharing with others who had been through the same experience, I realized that my feelings were quite normal. Today, I will be sharing about the anger process. This, the anger stage. This stage, it was confusing to me. At first, I didn't really understand my anger. I was angry at so many different things. And I found that not acknowledging my anger really hurt me because at first I felt that, well, if I say that I'm trusting God in this process, why am I still so angry? At the end of the day, I had to remember that I'm a human being with feelings, and I had every right to be angry and to be hurt and upset that my son had passed away. I was even very angry at my son. I was so angry at him. I would often think back to the days when I would get angry at him for smoking, and I would yell at him about it all the time. Why would you smoke when you have asthma? And there were days I was not very nice about it. And I remember I went in his room one day and I could smell the tobacco and I told him I would kick you out of this house the next time I catch you smoking in here. And it would be one of those things all the time. But I realized that nicotine is addictive, and even though he had asthma, and I get it now, it all makes sense. I was upset and angry at the situation, and I really just had to admit to myself, you are angry and you have a right to be angry. But then, I thought about my son and would he have done anything intentionally for this to happen? I don't think he expected. I think he always thought that he would get by. I read an old Facebook post that he did on July 15th of 2015, and he mentioned how God had saved him the night before, and he really thought that he was going to die that night, but he said God saved me, and then he died maybe a little over 6 months later. And I remember taking him to the clinic where I volunteer to be seen because he was having a hard time. And the thing with him, he would have these issues with his asthma, and sometimes I would really have to force him to go and be seen. And I remember that day when we went and got his inhaler, and I remember how pale he was. And I remember him using the inhaler, and I could literally see the color coming back into his face. And a night later, I couldn't find him inside the house, and I opened the front door, and there he was in his car smoking. And I thought I was going to punch a hole through the glass. I was so angry, and I went back to all those times. And then I had to accept that he was 26 and he was very intelligent, very intelligent. This is the life he chose for himself. I have to accept it. I cannot go back into the past. There is nothing that I can do to change things. And I have to talk to myself every day about not being angry at myself because I kept going back. Like I've shared before, it's like my brain wants to go back to January the 27th of 2016 so that I could change things. But I am not God. I cannot. do that. God doesn't even change time. So who am I to think that it's possible? But the irrational mind takes over sometimes during this grief process. And the yearning and the hoping and the wishing. I think it's quite normal because to missing a loved one it's a very hard thing. Very, very hard. I was angry at people for telling me basically that I should get over it or I should move on or you should be over this by now. There were times, I'm telling you, even in my church where I wanted to yell at people. I just wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, shut up. Do you know what you're talking about? But I'm so glad that I did not choose to react because at the end of the day, it won't bring my son back and it will not change anything. What I had to learn was that, as insensitive as it may come across, I think that people have good intentions. I don't think that they mean anything. I think they think that they're helping you to move forward. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. My goal to help me, because to be honest with you, I still have issues with anger. I know I do. And as soon as I'm able to afford it, I plan to get a punching bag and I plan to punch out my frustrations. Um, because it's weird. It's weird. It feels like there is some aggression there that needs to come out. And I have to ask myself, what are you most angry at, or who are you most angry with? I've been angry about feeling so misunderstood. I've been angry about the insensitive things that have been said. But most of all, I am angry at my son. Even though I say I've made peace with it because he was naive and like most young people, I think most young people today, and I remember being younger myself, you think you're invincible, you think it will never happen to you. I wish that he would have listened. I wish he would have taken his asthma more seriously, but I have to move on and make peace. And my goal is to help other people and have them understand if you have a chronic disease like asthma, if you're facing a health issue, you have to take it seriously and you have to play your part in your own health. So that's all a part of leading into the last video, which will be on acceptance. What I would like to share with you is if you are feeling angry, find a constructive way to release it. You can talk about it. If you have a punching bag, whatever it is, but try to release it. Try not to become, I can't tell you what to do, it's your process. It's easy in this stage to become a victim, or it's easy to get into the point where you just feel like you have the right to be mean to other people. You're hurting, so they should hurt too. But at the end of the day, is hurting other people really going to bring back your loved one? It won't. So write about it. Journal. I did that for a while, and I got some feelings out. But for what I really need to get out, I really believe I need a punching bag. Um, sometimes I get on my treadmill and I run, and that helps a lot. physical exercise. I mean, exercising is like the best medicine possible. Um, I think I even turned my anger on myself. I have lost quite a bit of weight and actually became a certified trainer later in life. I'm in my 50s. And I found that I started turning to the comfort foods again, especially at night. The chocolate and the candy, soda, the things that are not good for me. I had gone at one point for months without having any of that stuff. But I have found since my son passed away that it's just sometimes it's like a drug that I just have to have. And at the end of the day, I could eat all the candy in the world. I could drink all the soda in the world. What is it going to do but make me unhealthy? So it's almost like a form of passive aggressiveness on my own self, if that makes sense. Um, like I'm taking out my anger and frustrations on me. I can tell you this much. For what I knew of my son, he would not want that for me. And he would want me to get the message out there to others about taking care of themselves and not picking up the bad habits that will kill you. I mean, the same way I got on him about smoking, which is not good for you, that's what I need to do to myself right now. Because all the candy and soda and all that stuff, it's just as bad as smoking. So at the end of the day, we have to be good to ourselves. We have to get our rest and eat well and exercise and get out in the sunshine sometimes. It's so easy to like I'm here in my bedroom. It's my safe place and it always has been. But there are days I push myself and I will go downstairs. I will go to other rooms. I will go in my office, which was my son's bedroom, and try to do things to change my routine. It's okay to be angry. You have every right to be angry. Every right to be angry. But at the end of the day, deal with it. Because if you let it fester and if you let it build up, where is that going to get you? It'll make things worse. So if you haven't walked in a long time, take a 5-minute walk. Start off easy. You're not going to go out there and run a marathon, but hey, maybe you could set a goal to run a marathon. Start off with a 5K though. I tell you to start off easy. My goal for myself this year is to do a half marathon. I don't think I'll be able to run the whole thing, but I would like to at least try a half marathon. I've done three 5Ks, and I've told myself my next goal is a 10K and a half marathon. I got sidetracked by my grief, and recently I got back into it, and I have found that exercising is like a wonderful release for me. I hope you found this video helpful, and God bless and take care. And as I've said in all of my videos, if you find that you are not coping well, reach out to your pastor, reach out to a friend, reach out to a relative, reach out to a professional. But whatever you do, do not hold it all inside because it will not help and it will kill you in the long run. And you stop and think about how you feel in this grieving process. Would you want your other family members and friends to go through that again? So take care of yourself. It will get better.